Hello, everybody, and welcome to Athletic Definition. My name is Coach Ray Z, and today is episode number 99 of Athletic Definition with my guest, Pedro Aguilar. Uh, Today, I titled the show Be the Light for Other Dreamers. Let's see how the sound quality is. Welcome to Fireside, Pedro. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Ray. I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Thank you for being here. You know, you were like one of my first original guests that you were supposed to be on here, but being a rookie, I didn't know that this was for ISO only. And now you are my number 99th guest. So I wanted to get you in before the 100th episode. And I just, I met you through Jiu Jitsu, actually, at a Jiu Jitsu tournament. And then when I found out about your story, I'm like, oh, you're perfect for the show. It's exactly what I'm trying to tell. And, I like to get started, and I read your story. And if you want to check it out, you can click on his link on the fortune cookie. It'll take you to his Instagram. And then on there's a link which it'll take you. You wrote that article, that blog?
Yes, I actually wrote that article for. I'm part of the scholar program because of my background, distinguished background in my education. So I was granted a full ride scholarship.
Oh, great. And, I read it and it talks about you being an adult learner. But, what about when you were younger? Did you like playing sports? Did you like school at all? Or,
Well, to say that I didn't like school would be a little bit of a lie. I did like school, but it was just not foster for me. I mean, everybody likes to feel that pat on the back, right? That, oh, you're doing a good job, especially when you're a young kid. So I did like it. It was not foster in the environment that I was in. But I mean, the main thing that kept me out of trouble was actually sports. I played sports from young age all the way till even now. I mean, I still train off and on some jujitsu. So yeah, definitely.
all right. And then, through high school, at what point did you decide you wanted to go into nursing?
So the reason why I went into nursing is I've been working mental health with the probation and the foster population. I specialize in the intensive care, meaning those kids that were failed multiple placements. They were kicked out of many group homes, foster homes. And in the easiest terms, the worst of the worst, the ones nobody wanted to work with or foster. I specialized in that, and along the way, I started noticing there's not a lot of minorities in nursing, and especially in mental health nursing. So, it spiked my interest in just talking with my supervisor and other coworkers. They pretty much told me, "Hey, listen, this is what you're looking at. If you take this route, and if you take this route, this is what you're looking at." And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the route in the medical field as opposed to, I was looking into getting my master's in social work from Cal State San Bernardino. So I just completely changed my whole major.
Yeah, either field that you were planning to go in to me definitely would have been helpful for society and contribute to society. And, you know, I met you through jiu-jitsu, as I mentioned earlier, in a tournament. And to me, the fact that you do jiu-jitsu was cool. And then when I found out about going through education, that you're an adult learner, that you're a single parent, and on the article, I love the part that you could have just been known as someone. It's way at the very bottom, like someone without dreams or hopes, and that you didn't want your daughter, to see that. And it right now it is very difficult for a lot of people with what we've been through. The whole pandemic, but still, to what besides your daughter, what drove you to keep going?
I think I've always seen what I do as just a small pebble in the bigger picture, in the bigger scheme. This is not just about my daughter. This is not just about me. This is a bigger picture. I'm doing this for all those kids and that in back of the class, all those kids in the community continuation schools, all those kids that that they're pretty much forgotten. They're the kids that we tend to forget that they're going to become anything in life. That to me, and I speak I'm colorblind, so in the sense that I don't care if you're black, Latino, or Caucasian, or Asian. I care of your background of where you come from and where you want to be. So I see it as something bigger than my immediate family, which is my daughter, and my son. But it's what you're going to show others with what your actions, from where you're at, is you're leading from this point on, and what you show, a lot of people might gravitate to you because nobody has around their circle has made it to where you are. And so to me, it's like that's what pushes me. That's the main force. Is like, this is not just about my immediate family, it's about everybody around me.
I agree. Living by example, leading by example is very important. And you are a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so that I know that takes some time already. It goes up white, blue, purple, brown, black. For those of you listening in the audience who don't know much about jiu-jitsu, and so when did you start jiu-jitsu, and what drove you to start training jiu-jitsu?
So I did wrestling in high school, and in high school, I was pretty good in jujitsu, and the reason why I got in wrestling was because I actually got in trouble. Of course, I was the kid that I was be at the dean's office because I couldn't control my behavior. But the person that was actually in the dean's office was a coach Cuthbert from Etiwana High School, who's still the head coach out in Etiwana High School. And he told me, "Hey, you look like one of my wrestlers." And I honestly thought wrestling was a little bit not my thing. But he said, "Hey, you should come check it out." And I fell in love with it. And because I had that background, one of my good buddies, Mike Sandis, who's actually an MMA pro fighter, was actually upcoming. But he didn't have a background in wrestling or anything like that. So I would train with him. I would teach him some wrestling. He would teach me some jujitsu because his background was in jujitsu. And I just started doing it. I must have been like 18, 17. And, off and on. Now I'm 34. And I've been training off and on, sometimes because I'm in school, I'm not able to train. But, since I was about 17, 18 till now, I've been training off and on.
That's great. I think a lot of us end up quitting sometimes when things in life happen, school, marriage, and it's understandable for those of us who aren't going to be pro athletes to take some time off because it's needed, to accomplish other things. But the fact that you keep going, and I know your daughter trains now too as well.
Yes, she trains.
Yeah, and I have a daughter too. She doesn't want to train jujitsu at all, but I actually got to train with you a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that was so cool that your daughter was there and that you get to train with her. Did she want to start training jujitsu, or is that something you kind of?
At first, she did. She was, hyped up about it. My because of my background in wrestling, and my nephews and nieces also gravitated to that, so they started, competing for Etiwana High School. And because of that, my daughter was like, "Oh, I want to train too." And so at first, she was, happy to train, but now it's more like to me at least, I tell her, "Hey, you have to do it till you're at least 16 years old, and then after that, then we can talk about you not training."
And one of the things also that I read on the article you wrote is all the different odd jobs you had to do. Was that to pay for school? Because I know you got a scholarship, so was that just to take care of your daughter, or and also for all the people listening in who think like, oh, if I get a scholarship, maybe I don't have to work. To me, your story can give a lot of people like ideas of what to do or what to expect along the not the typical journey.
Right. So I was a crane operator for California Steel Mill right there by the California Speedway. I was a forklift operator. I know how to work the UPS FedEx shipping receiving system. I did a little bit of painting. I work as a painter with the couple of contractors. I did construction work. You name it, I put my hands on it. And the reason why is not only did I want to provide, for my family, um, but also because I didn't know where to go. I mean, we I come from from humble beginnings, and my parents were both working parents. So my mom owned her business, but at the same time, I was thinking like, well, I don't want to go into the business she's in. and I would just think to myself, like, where can I go, right? So I guess it was not only to provide for my family, but it's also a way to find what I wanted to do, right? It was just like I saw it more as I guess, a trial and error for me, providing for my family, but I'm also, finding out, is this what I want to do in life? Do I want to work a regular 9 to 5? Do I want to be a machine operator? Do I want to, you name it? I pretty much did it all.
And now that you accomplished your goal of, becoming a practitioner in nursing, are you very happy, satisfied? I know it took a long time to get there. Well, how long did it take you to accomplish that actually, since you started?
So I think it honestly, from when I started in community college till me obtaining my master's in nursing, which is, I just finished my master's in nursing maybe about a month ago. But honestly, it's been like a lifelong since I was like 21, and it kind of goes back to the whole jujitsu thing where I just never gave up. I just kept going, whether it was one class, whether it was one semester, whatever. The main thing and the main goal is just don't give up. You will never hear of, uh, Ray became a purple belt, in 2023 because he quit, in 2022. You will never hear that. It's insane. What you will hear is he never gave up and he got his purple belt, he got his brown belt, whatever. And that's the main thing. I never gave up after I started in Chafee College. I kept taking 1, 2 classes a semester and just knowing, hey, even though it's taking a long time, and the goal is to get that associate's degree and transfer out to Cal State San Bernardino. It don't matter how long it takes, but as long as you're there and you get there. And I'm actually specializing right now. I'm specializing as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So hoping in about 8 months I'll wrap that up and be done. Done for now. I think that's my goal for 2022, 2023.
And what about I think I trained with you. And you're like you haven't had much, which is understandable, much time to train. Do you have any goals for jujitsu? Maybe competing again, since that's how I met you.
Yeah, I think once I'm done with school, maybe I'll go back to competing. But for now, it's just try to hang with all you animals. I go to any gym and just to open mat or just train with Coach Craig and everybody's just getting better and better. And I love that because that shows that the amount of time you put into the mats or in anything in general, it does not lie because it reflects on the skill level that you get from training.
Yeah, that is one saying that I think to the jiu-jitsu community is very, like maybe even cliche. The mats don't lie, but really that's as you said, it's a real reflection of life. It's like the time you put in to any sort of work, it's going to reflect. And maybe some places you can get away with pretending you're something you're not, but right there you're going to get exposed right away, and people will know. And that is one of the things that I love about jiu-jitsu. And the journey that you meet so many different people from different backgrounds, like yourself. And what would you say, for what was the difference that made you want to change from social work to psychiatric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made me change is just picking at people with master's level of education. From small to big. Universities. I would ask them certain questions, and based on their answers. I don't know if their answers were genuine. I don't know if their answers were not the honest truth, because you get that a lot with people when you ask them certain questions. There's that envy, that jealousy, and they tend to not tell you 100% the truth. But just asking around, and just picking at people's brains in my workspace, I just started noticing, that certain, they weren't really content. Some of them weren't content, some of them were. And then it just gives you that perspective. Well, it's really based on how they see things, right? and that itself just my change of heart for nursing. What's interesting is I actually started community college for nursing, then I switched to social work and sociology, then social work, and then I went back to what I originally wanted, which is nursing. So I always had that niche, and it was just like being in the field of mental health and social work, where I was like, you know what, this whole time, not only did it spiked an interest in psychiatric, which is mental health, but it helped me grow into who I am now. So it was just perfect, and it kind of goes back to what I told you earlier, where some of the jobs I held, I held those jobs not because it was the only thing that I could do. I held it because I wanted to see what was in that environment, and if that environment was would gravitate or would make me happy, and obviously I'm in psychiatric mental health now because that's where I find that I'm a happy space.
And did you get to start practicing nursing early because of the pandemic? If I was reading correctly, it said Newsom was making a call to all the students that were in nursing, and you wanted to jump in right away.
So during that pandemic, they were recruiting nursing students for us to go and help with the overflow of patients. I didn't get the opportunity, and I personally didn't sign up for it. But just hearing Newsom ask for the students and those was for me, it was inspiring because that puts you in that perspective of a lot of minorities and people in difficult backgrounds want to give back to their communities. So this was like a call, as in a pat in the back that I'm going the right way. The career that I chose is perfect because if you have somebody in office asking for our help, that means you're doing something right. You're going the right way. So it just felt good. But no, I didn't sign up for the for to be one of the first ones to help out.
Oh, okay. No, it's interesting to me and just fascinating for all the nursing people that, especially during that time, what they had to go through. And I could imagine that there was a shortage as well. So, and yeah, you're right. That's a career that's very, very much in demand. And let me, I had a couple notes here that I wrote down, but oh yeah, you mentioned on here that you are also, if I read it correctly, you're a first generation college graduate in the
Yes,
family.
yes. So I'm the first generation of college grads. Was My parents didn't have much of an education, much of an opportunity, and they pretty much laid down the foundation for me to be where I am. So it would be for me in a way ungrateful if I didn't take that opportunity and continue to build off where they left off. And I just had to do it for not just for me, but for my mother. I mean, it's kind of like you're giving all these opportunities. Why not, utilize those and build up from where they left off.
And do you remember where you got that idea? Because I don't remember. Just recently, I was hearing someone saying about, I didn't know that I could do that because no one in my family had done it, or I didn't have those type of role models. Do you know what planted that seed in your, mind of a college education, especially, being first generation?
You know what? It's interesting that I love art. I'm actually an artist myself. I love painting. I love acrylic paint. I love most mediums to work with. What's interesting is I'm sure you guys know, or for those that don't know, there was a famous painter by the name of Diego Rivera, and Diego Rivera would depict a lot of um, brown people, Mexican people, as nothing but back and arms, meaning we were nothing but labor, right? We were the labor force, and he would depict that in his murals and whatnot. And to me, it actually clicked in my head, right? Where Diego Rivera was just was just an artist, but really political, because that message to me means that not only does Diego Rivera see a lot of us Mexicanos, Mexican Americans, whatever you want to label us, Latinos, as back, just labor jobs. And to me, that was like, that's interesting, because everything that I was doing at that point was a labor job, from being a crane operator to a painter to whatever you want to call it. A lot of those are labor jobs, So that was like, well, what's the opposite of, having a labor job? Well, it's getting yourself in education, right? So you still do somewhat labor, but now it's like you work neck up as opposed to neck down, right? Because you need a little bit less of a skill, um, to do those jobs. So they see you as you're a worker from the neck and down as opposed to the neck up, meaning you're using your brain, you're utilizing that to be in the field that you are. So it was Diego Rivera who actually planted that in my head.
That's interesting. I got to see if I've seen his work or not. I'm pretty sure that name sounds so familiar, but the way that you took and his interpretation of his art and it translated into your mind and planted that seed. I think that's fascinating, and that's what my show is kind of like a little bit of that. You never know who that person is or that thought or um, I've been trying to just bring a variety because not all of us are going to get to play in the NBA or be able to play in the NFL, but some of us nursing, athletic help, and there's even sports that aren't even well known like Jiu Jitsu that can help a lot with self discipline and just give you those translatable skills that you mentioned. If you don't pay attention to nursing school, it's not going to translate when you actually take the test and things like that. When you were in nursing and you actually started working with patients, was there anything that kind of threw you off that you weren't expecting, or that you're like, oh, maybe this isn't for me?
No, actually, nothing has been throwing me off. But when I did start working with patients, and I recall this incident where one of my patients that I was attending to, because I actually go to their homes. I travel to the San Bernardino, Riverside, and LA County areas, and I treat my patients at home, whether it's wound care, whether it's follow up, whatever IV. I do it at their home, right? And this particular patient was having a seizure, and and it's funny because you know you're trained to do it. This is like fresh. I just graduated. I got my gig. I'm working, and he's having a seizure. So I'm like, oh my god, uh, where's the people that are gonna help him? And it just throws you off, But I have the skills. I have the ability to help him. So I did what I had to do, and he was okay. But yeah, it throws you off. But I don't think I've felt like, oh man, I'm not in the right place. I know I'm in the right place, and I can carry myself as that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was thinking when you mentioned psychiatric, it's more like, people that are institutionalized, or also like the jail in downtown. That one's like for psychiatric and people that are high risk. So I was thinking stuff like that. So there's different types of fields as well where people can be on psychiatric medicines, but not intense enough where they need to be actually institutionalized.
Right. So when you say institutionalized, well, a lot of those that are institutionalized is because they either are a threat to themselves or a threat to others, and or they're serving a sentence for a crime they committed. So majority of the people, they might be walking amongst us, and you wouldn't even know, right? For all you know, I might be taking psychotropic psych medication, but you don't know because I'm completely normal outside. So that's kind of like the stigma behind also mental health. With a lot of people think that mental health, you're crazy and you're jumping off of walls and all that. No, mental health is not just that type of Hollywood cinema where people are going crazy in psychiatric wards. It's not like that.
Yeah, we believe everything Hollywood teaches us, and if I see it on TikTok, then I believe it. I'm like 100% believing everything. And yeah, I wanted to, if anyone in the audience has a question for Pedro and would like to ask him about his journey to become a nurse, I'm more than happy to, let us know, and we'll bring you up here. And if not, I know you said you kind of have your plans for this year in 2020, but do you have like longer term plans? I mean, I know you're just accomplishing everything, but usually people that are, working on goals and things, they just don't settle. They keep going. There's no finish line.
So as I mentioned earlier, my biggest plan and goal is not really just to obtain, a degree or a career that pays well. My biggest goal is just to continue. If you guys look at my profile, I've done also pro bono work for a nonprofit. There's a nonprofit organization here in San Bernardino County, Cords Enrichment Program. That is actually, I met the gentleman, the CEO, in a treatment facility. I was working in a treatment facility for the probation population in Riverside County, and he started a nonprofit, and now it's a nonprofit that serves the school district in San Bernardino, I believe. I'm not sure in what other areas, but we actually go and serve into the continuation schools, and I'm a motivational speaker slash informational speaker, because motivation is temporary, information can last forever. So we go over there to the community to the continuation schools, and I'll tell them a little bit about my background and my journey, because like them, a lot of them, what it is that they need that, like you mentioned earlier, they need that person. It doesn't come, we don't know where it's going to come from, but you might be that small pat on the back, or the little point of hands for them to be like, oh, that makes sense to me. I'm going to gravitate to what he said, and I'm going to go for it. So I do that kind of work, and I think that's my biggest goal, is just to continue doing that. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just about me or my immediate family. It's about a lot of the upcoming minorities and kids in the communities that are forgotten, or are kind of put to the side, because their troubled background. And that's my biggest goal, is just to continue doing that with the his nonprofit and other nonprofits that are willing to give me the platform for me to help the others out.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I saw that on, I think, on your Instagram story. Very, very cool. How often do you get to go out and speak to the youth?
So anytime he gives me a call, I show up. I go first thing in the morning. So I'm open to any time he hits me up, and at least every I go at least every 2 months. We do a couple gigs in the San Bernardino County community.
And then last time I seen you, I think you mentioned that I think you were going to be featured for something upcoming, maybe in the next month.
Yeah, so I was out in San Diego last week. We were actually doing TikTok videos for the university, because of my scholar. They actually asked me to do a lot of gigs for them, and for me, it's like, why not? I mean, you guys are providing me with the education that I need, so the least I can do is show up and talk a little bit about my background. So we were doing some TikTok videos, and I'm also, they were actually having me record, because they were going to feature me in the National University Instagram. So it was going to be one day in the life of a full time student and a field RN. So I kind of recorded myself going through the San Bernardino, Riverside, LA area, kind of doing what I do, which is travel and treat patients or out in the community. So it's supposed to come out, I think, next month, for Nurses Week. I think they're gonna post it. I'm not sure though, so it just depends. I don't know if the content that I gave it was enough, but I'm hoping it is, and I'm hoping they showcase that on the IG Instagram.
Well, congratulations on everything you do. And I did want to mention, since you go around and do motivational speaking and information speaking, and you know, you've been featured quite a few times. Do you have any sort of like speaking background or speech classes, anything? You seem very comfortable, and that is, I think, like the number one or number two fear in the world: public speaking. I know a lot of people that I've invited on the show, but they're like, "Oh, I don't want to. I hate my voice. I hate the way I look. I hate this." I'm like, just come on the show and talk.
So, no, actually, I don't have any background or anything like that in regards to public speaking. I just feel that just growing up in the household, because my mom's not shy at all, and just being able to speak in front of people is like, it's a must. In order for you to be selected into anything really. And I think that's the thing that got me the scholarship. I was able to stand in front of people and break down what I do. But I think really just working with a multidisciplinary group in when I was in mental health, I think that's kind of like there's no room for you to be shy. You're working with professionals here. You have to be able to speak up and let them know what's happening with the patient you're dealing with, and you can't shy away from giving that information, because sometimes that information that they need, you have that information because you're working one on one with that patient. So I think that along with all the damn things we have to do for school, public, stand in front of the class and talk, all that just accumulated to me being comfortable in front of people and, talking amongst large groups.
That's a great skill to have, especially nowadays. And I know you do jujitsu, but then following you on your Instagrams, looks like you've done quite a few races here and there. I could be wrong. Maybe you did one of those, the ones where you, it's like with the team. I can't think of the name right now. And then I also see you do a lot of hiking as well. So besides jujitsu, what do you enjoy working out in?
So, a buddy of mine who's an active Marine, I got him into running and doing hikes, and he started a he's starting or has started a nonprofit. It's a hiking group called Still in the Fight. It's predominantly a hiking group that aims to help wounded warriors, first responders, law enforcement. And because everything for us is about mental health and helping one another. So he started that group. It's called Still in the Fight, and so whenever I get the opportunity, I go hiking with them, and I also try to stay as fit as possible. So we do a lot of. I used to do now. I haven't done it in a minute, but we did the Yosemite half marathon last year, which was beautiful. I recommend it, even if you're not a runner, to just go for the sightseeing. It's an amazing place. It's beautiful. I do that, and I just try to do some ways to try to be able to survive when you're going against all these animals and they're trying to rip out your limbs and arms, and so you got to just do pump a little bit of iron so your arms don't fall out when they're trying to rip them out. I mean, that's pretty much it. Just a little bit of hiking, a little bit of running, a little bit of weightlifting, and here and there some jujitsu.
And especially now, I keep hearing about more and more people on medication. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I don't know. It depends on each individual and their professional. But how much do you feel that exercise can, if it's nothing major, can help prevent with like feelings of being depressed and because it's really easy to spiral down, especially when things aren't going your way. So how do you feel about just working out in general, especially being in the medical field?
I think it's a key component. It's working out. It's a key component. Whether you're doing it to aesthetically look good, or whether you're looking it to feel good. One of the biggest things a lot of people don't understand is the minute anybody starts working out, it don't matter if it's a male or female. You go to the mirror and you start like checking out your arms, or you start checking out your chest. You start walking different. What that doing is boosting your confidence, right? Whether you're male or female, and by doing so, it's helping you feel a little bit better. I'm a big believer that as long as you're working out here and there, just trying to make yourself sharp, that's actually going to help you a long way. Like I said, whether it's for aesthetically or because you're trying to feel good, for sure, it's something you have to do, and it don't matter what age you are. You just have to work out. You just have to go for a walk. And you can't afford the gym. Okay, go for a walk around your community. Your community is a little bit too rough. Hey, go during the day. Take a dog. I don't know, but there's a lot of working out is for sure is a key for you to stay sharp in everything. You know, some of the kids that I work with. This was actually taught to me by one of the foster moms. She would tell me some of these kids, they come to me and they're like all over the place. They're on medication and the medication doesn't work. But you know what works? And I tell them, don't tell me. She said, I take them to the park, and in the park they run wild. They're on the monkey bars. They're going down the slides. They're playing tag. They're chasing each other. Well, it's a form of working out, you know. And she says, and by the time they get home, they're hungry. It's stimulating for them to eat a healthy meal, and then they shower, and then they knock out. I don't have a problem with kids like that. You know, that's a big. What's the key right there? They're working out without them knowing. She sets them up to go work out. You know, but you tell a kid, "Hey, let's go work out." They'll be like, "What? Yeah, I don't work out. I don't do that." But these kids, sometimes you just gotta, figure a way to work out with them, and that was key. And now think of us as adults. Ain't nobody's forcing you to work out. It's nobody making you. Sometimes they have trouble sleeping. I'm pretty sure if you go for a little hike, your ass is gonna go to sleep when you get home because you're gonna be tired. You know, so you don't need certain medication to help you go to sleep. You don't need certain things. As long as you work out, it'll help you regulate certain areas. Of course, the biggest for me, especially from a nursing background, the biggest battle is what you put in your mouth, right? Because if you ain't working out, because if you're working out a lot, but you're putting junk in there, aesthetically, you're going to look good. But internally, oh man, your cholesterol is going to be high, and high cholesterol can lead to a lot of complications. Your blood pressure is going to be high. Oof, that's a silent killer. That the high blood pressure is a silent killer. If you guys Google the statistics on hypertension, especially among the African American community, whew, it's a killer, right? So working out is for sure a key, but it's really more important what you put in your mouth that matters.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the kids, and she's kind of tricking them into working out. They're without knowing it. And I say that as well for the adults. I've mentioned many times, like when I go to the park to play basketball or when I go do jujitsu, I don't see it as a workout. I'm like, oh, I get to go hang out with my friends. I haven't seen them for a while. It's like, to me, that's not a workout. And then that helps because there's times where if you're just like, oh, I got to go to jujitsu again, or I'm tired, my back hurts, blah, blah, blah. It was a long day. It's not the same. But if it's more like, I'm just going to go hang out and I haven't seen them and it's good times, then you're more motivated to go and keep going. And then sometimes you end up feeling like, oh man, I only went twice, but you kind of look at that in a month, how many times you went, you're like, oh, that's not bad. And you keep going and it's better than nothing. So I think that us as adults can actually use that same type of mentality that we do as children.
Yeah.
And um, let's see here. I have your Instagram going here on the Fortune Cookie if anybody wants to follow. But for those of people who just listen in, if they did want to reach out to you, how could they?
Just follow me on Instagram. I think it's PX Scholar and PX dot Scholar. Just follow me there. You guys can message me, follow me. There's gonna, like I said, there's gonna be other features coming up for the National University takeover. I'm gonna be featured on TikTok for the university, and just you guys are feel free to message me, ask me questions. That platform is there for the sake of asking, inquiring about nursing, especially at our university. But I'm okay if you have other questions in regards to nursing. Yeah, I get that a lot. I get people message me, "Hey, I'm interested in nursing. What do you recommend?" And whenever I get a chance, I reply back. And just in general, don't feel free to message me. I'll get to your message and I'll reply back.
Yeah, I was going to mention, I'm sure there's some people listening in and they're like, well, he must have been pretty smart to get a scholarship, besides other things you mentioned that you presented yourself well. But what about for, youth that wants to pursue nursing but maybe don't have like the top grades to get scholarships? Is there alternatives for them? Is there any hopes or things you could provide, some information maybe?
My GPA was honestly a 2.0 all through high school. C's and D's, not really good in regards to my GPA. So that I didn't get a scholarship then. My scholarship came when I actually went into community college, and because right there is nobody's gonna make you do your homework. Nobody cares if you go to class, right? You just have to make it a priority. And for me, it was because I was working. I was only taking one class at a time. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that I got the highest grade possible. I couldn't take 3 4 classes and barely make it, because that's going to put me on the bottom of the list for any applications, any opportunities that I can try to get to. So if you're able to manage a couple of classes, then go for it. But if not, just take your time. In nursing, it's competitive. I was able to transfer from Chafee on to with a 3.8, I believe, a 3.5, 3.8 GPA, which was like just borderline from the rest. So, I mean, the only thing is, if you can retake the class, if you already are in the university or community college, and your GPA is a little bit low, all you can do is retake the class, and like I said, make sure you recalibrate yourself. Focus on that specific class. You should know by now what type of learner you are. You should know by now how much you can put on your plate. Because if you put too much on your plate, you're just gonna make a mess. And it's unfortunately, there's nothing that anybody can do for you. You're just not going to get into the traditional university. You're not. They're looking for a good GPA. They're looking for a solid person. You might have to go through a private university, pay top dollars. And even then, you still have to put in the work. You still have to study. You still have to do the work. So if you're not doing it the traditional way, you might have to go private. But even then, you're paying top dollars, and you still got to put in the work. So just take your time. Don't try to finish everything at all at once. Take your time.
And I know you said the nursing is competitive, and what about after you graduated? Is I would just assume that it's really a lot of people are hiring for that right now with everything going on. But what do you think?
So so just by talking among my peers, I know that I could have gotten a couple of job offers, but I went for the what worked for me, right? There's some people that you know want to do a traditional 3/12s and have 4 days for themselves, but it's just really, you have to find something that works for you. As far as jobs, there's many job opportunities. There's even agencies that will hire you, to work for a certain hospital, because the hospitals aren't getting enough, don't have enough staff. So as far as after you graduate, not being able to get a job, it's kind of difficult. And but again, there's many gigs you can get. You don't have to work in a hospital. You work for I know people that have graduated and went and started working for IHP, which is the insurance company. So you're not seeing patients, but you're working on behind a desk, dealing with stuff related to healthcare. I know people that graduated and went into working with the a school system. I know people that work for the regional center. So there's many gigs and opportunities for you, but it's just, you just have to find something that works for you. If the hospital is for you, then you would go into a hospital. So yeah, there's many job opportunities.
And how do you see the whole minority as far as like, is it, are they, or do you see more in nursing, more as doctors, or since you started and you said that was one of the things you kind of noticed, that there was a lack of representation?
I mean, numbers speak for themselves. It's still the same. There's a shortage of nurses, and the numbers of men of color, minorities, and Spanish speakers in the um, nursing field. It's a small amount. I mean, we are in California, so you see a little bit more of a diverse uh, a force, but I mean, there's still a shortage nevertheless, and we're still underrepresented.
Well, you are like a pioneer then in it, hopefully, and basically inspire some future generations. As I mentioned for everyone listening in, Pedro, I've known him through Jiu Jitsu. We were actually doing a tournament, and I don't remember. I think we started following each other on Instagram, and I seen his story. I seen what he was doing, and he was supposed to be like within my first five guests of Athletic Definition podcast, and now we're here. It didn't happen because he has had an Android and now he has an Apple, and now he made it for episode number 99. So to me, I'm excited because in the beginning when I asked you, it would have been really cool to have you on because I already know you, and this hasn't been the easiest to like, start interviewing people, and this is all new to me. So I was trying to get people I know. It just didn't work out that way, but regardless, it's finally I have one more person that I need to bring on that I promised, and they have an Android too. But I'm like, I when you told me you got an Apple, I was all excited. I'm like, oh, cool! I'm gonna hit you up right away. We're gonna get you on, and yeah, a lot of people RSVP. I think they were interested in hearing your story, and I try and just bring on different people. I think I actually thought you were DACA for a while because of the whole dreamer and the way you speak, and I asked you about that. But yeah, I think that I just try and bring on guests that can hopefully inspire either younger generations or different generations, and within sports and any sort of working out, there's so many different avenues you can take, and some people just don't even consider them or may not even be aware of it. So having people like you, especially you know with the lack of representation as well, I think it's even better. And yeah, because I think there's not too many Latino, Mexican American podcast hosts either. So there's a few I checked. So hopefully we can do some brown great breaking things in the near future. And is there anything maybe I left out or something that you wanted to spotlight or give a shout out to anybody in particular?
Just I tell everybody, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for anybody and everybody during my schooling, professors, coworkers, ex coworkers, current coworkers, current supervisors. I'm thankful to be where I am because of everybody. I'm an accumulation of everybody's um, kind words and encouragement, because that's what I love to see, and that's what I try to give back to the people. Um, Everybody that knows me and knows that I'm thankful and I'm grateful for everybody that it don't matter where you come from, it don't matter who you are. I got nothing but love and respect for everybody. So just thankful for everybody for helping me to be where I am today.
That's great too. I think people need to understand that it's not easy to make it anywhere in life without the help of others, and it's difficult to ask for help. It's difficult, at least for some people. It is for me to ask for help. So to understand that you need help and other people need help along the journey, and then once you receive the help, to be thankful for the help is very, very important. And I wanted to thank everybody listening on the simulcast, in the audience, in the streams. Once again, thank you, Pedro, for being on here, and for to episode number 99. Now that you've been on here, pretty much everyone I come on, of course, they have to come back on in the future. So in the future, when you come on, we're going to expect you to, who knows, maybe have some other degree and be either have competed or be getting ready for a competition. Give us like an update on what you're doing in life and kicking ass.
That would be great, man. Thank you. Definitely will do that.
All right. So thank you everybody for joining in. Athletic Definition. This has been Coach Ray Z, episode number 99. Until next Thursday, episode 100. Anyone who's been on the guest or in the audience can come on in and just say hello and say congrats. So thank you everybody for joining. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.